Hello and welcome to the channel, Great Britons. It's good to have you along. I hope you're going to enjoy today's content. I certainly am. We're absolutely wallowing in nostalgia today because we're going to be talking about Dusty Springfield OBE. Yes, indeed, the wonderful Dusty. So it's a nostalgia-filled session for me. So I do hope you're going to enjoy it. Um, Dusty was born in London to Irish parents, and her real name Mary O'Brien. Um, Dusty was she was born in 1939, um, and spent a sort of youth in and around the London area. Um, and she really did have a tremendous career. Um, Starting off really with um, a local group. I'm assuming they were local because they certainly weren't sort of nationally popular at all. I think they were more, um, dare I say it, almost kind of semi-professional. I'm not sure, but they were called the Lana Sisters. I think they kind of appeared at holiday camps and that kind of stuff. And she was with the Lana Sisters for a couple of years, um, and later formed a folk group with her brother, and I think they ended up as a trio called the Springfields, and they did have one or two hits. They had a hit with a song called "Island of Dreams," which I think was also a hit in America, actually, and another track called Bambino, which was a European track, I think, that was translated into English. Um, when you look back at the Springfields and the kind of stuff they were wearing and the stuff they were singing, you would never imagine Dusty Springfield doing that kind of stuff. It was, I don't know, to me, she always looked like a fish out of water. She really did. Wore these kind of ridiculous sort of dresses that, almost filled the dance floor. She just, I mean, I guess we all have to start somewhere, but, she really didn't look very comfortable doing that kind of stuff. And not surprisingly, I think she soon realised that her heart was in R&B and soul and Motown and everything else. It was just not in this kind of country sort of folk stuff that they were doing. They'd been touring Ireland and doing again sort of doing holiday camps and all this kind of stuff. And like I said, a couple of minor hits, but that was it. When she went out as a solo artist, things really began to change for Dusty. And she recorded a couple of tracks, one of which was I Only Want to Be With You, and the other being In the Middle of Nowhere. And this, to me, these two tracks really, really showed what she was capable of. I mean, these are absolutely, even today, by any stretch, these are banging tunes. They're absolute floor fillers. They really are as good as any Motown track you're ever likely to hear. Absolutely wonderful songs. When they, certainly in the case of I Only Want to Be With You, when they kind of set out to record it, they'd been listening to a lot of stuff by Phil Spector, and this kind of wall of sound that Phil had developed. They they really wanted to sort of encapsulate that in the song, and they really did. I mean, it was an absolute success, and it was just a powerhouse of music to dance to. Absolutely incredible. Um, from 1963 to 1966, um, Dusty was the host of a pop program called Ready Steady Go, which some people, the older folks, uh, may remember. Uh, Younger folks won't know what I'm talking about, but it was kind of the forerunner, if you like, to Top of the Pops and some of those other things. But yeah, Dusty used to regularly host Ready Steady Go, and from '66 to 1969, she also hosted her own series, and very often, um, she was given sort of poetic license to invite her own guests onto the show, would promote Motown artists, and she'd have people over, Stevie Wonder, Temptations, Martha Reeves and the Vandellas, quite actively promoting Motown, which she absolutely adored. She really did. Um, in 1966, she recorded a track called Little by Little, and again, very lively tune, wonderful to dance to, and a big success for her, particularly in the UK. In '67, she had I'll call it a surprise hit. When I say surprise hit, it wasn't a surprise to me because it's absolutely wonderful. But I think it was a surprise to a lot of people in the showbiz game, because otherwise, why would you tuck it away as a B-side? And it was put out as a B-side, which is incredible. And I'm talking about a track called "The Look of Love," which is a wonderful ballad by Burt Bacharach, and it was featured in the film Casino Royale, and it was just a massive hit in the USA. It really was. Beautiful, beautiful track, really is, and Dusty made such a great job of it. In again, round about 1966, she was actually voted by Melody Maker's readers, Melody Maker magazine. She was voted by their readers as the best international vocalist. So there you go. I mean, that's a huge accolade, really is. Some other of well-known tracks included things like "Stay a While," again, wonderful uplifting song. "Son of a Preacher Man." Now, "Son of a Preacher Man" is actually regarded at many sort of modern blues clubs today still as a modern blues classic. It really has stood the test of time. There are various other versions around, but when you play the Dusty one, always goes down a storm. Absolutely great track. She then sort of moved on to recording a whole string of sort of ballads really by Burt Bacharach and Hal David. And, most of them did sort of chart, albeit not the top of the charts, but they'll always seem to do pretty well. And then I think probably, I don't know, sort of, later on, as time progressed, um, more modern music, if I can put it that way, was overtaking um, the style and, and the kind of format of songs that Dusty was releasing. So I think it's fair to say that her style at that time um, was losing impact with audiences. So her career kind of began to fade a little bit, and I think this had affected her self confidence. Really, to be perfectly honest, I think she was filled with self doubt, and that's a shame. She she spent a lot more time in the United States and had several affairs with different ladies that she'd met along the course of the way. She was a little bit of a mixed up lady, sort of, emotionally and all the rest of it, and had some sort of, quite sort of fiery relationships. But that's as may be. I mean, enough said about that. Basically, she was a heavy smoker and a heavy drinker. Um, you know, but again, none of us really knows the pressure of what it's like in the music industry, particularly if you've had that wonderful experience and that success, and then all of a sudden it's like life has overtaken you, and you are no longer popular. So she kind of faded really into the background, as it were. She was still doing like session work. She was actually doing session singer for Elton John and Madeleine Bell and people like that. But she certainly wasn't at the same level that she had been, and that must have been difficult for her to cope with, I guess. Um, in 1987, a wonderful opportunity came along where the Pet Shop Boys approached her to appear on one of their singles. What have I done to deserve this? And that was, really did reignite Dusty's career and show people what she was capable of. And again, that's just a banging tune. It really is. Absolutely great tune. And in 1990, when the film Scandal was released, that's all about the Profumo affair that some of you may remember. There were a couple of great tunes in that, which again had been produced by the Pet Shop Boys, and the songs from that film were basically nothing has been proved, and In Private. Now, again, certainly the track In Private is a great uplifting, song to dance to. It really is. And like I said, I guess introduced Dusty to a whole raft of a younger audience, basically, that really did appreciate what she was doing. And so in 1994, the song "Son of a Preacher Man" was actually featured in the film Pulp Fiction. Sorry, Pulp Fiction. I'll get it right in a minute. And again, a new younger audience, and it's saying, "God, who's this lady?" Dusty Springfield. Well, can't she sing? So great for her that to be appreciated by a new audience. Um, Leaping forward to 1999, the song "You Don't Have to Say You Love Me" was voted by a BBC Radio 2 audience as one of the top 100 songs of all time. So, wow, you know, quite an achievement there for Dusty. Um, in 1999, she was awarded the OBE from for services to the music industry, but sadly she became very ill and was unable to collect it personally. It was collected for her and then presented to her by her manager. Um, she Unfortunately she passed away in 1999 at the age of 59 from breast cancer. Tragic loss really there. I mean, like I said, she'd had such an absolutely wonderful career. Um, she'd had 16 top 20 hits in the UK, so that just shows you really that, the breadth of the stuff she'd done. I wanted to sort of summarise by saying, going back to her love of Motown. There's all sorts of stories floating around, and nothing's really corroborated on this one. So I'll tell you, and then but take it with a pinch of salt. There's one story that Berry Gordy, the boss of Tamla Motown, wanted to sign her up, and that Mary Wells and Dusty were due to appear on the same episode of Top of the Pops, and that he actually gave Mary Wells a contract and said, right, go and get Dusty to sign this. And the story, and this is the bit that I don't know whether you pays your money, it takes your choice as to whether you believe this or not. The story is that the guys in Detroit, none of them knew that she was this white English rose, that they all actually thought that she was a black lady from the deep south banging out these tunes. I'd love to believe it, actually. I'm not sure about it, but I would really love to believe it, because I could just imagine the shock of seeing this lovely white English rose going on stage, knocking out these tunes that, many would argue, belonged on the Motown label all the time. However, what I do believe is that because for whatever reason Dusty never did sign up with Motown, they actually signed up another lady, who looked a little bit like Dusty. She was a beautiful English rose, and got the beehive and the wonderful sparkly dresses and all the rest of it. And her name was Chris Clark. Now, Chris never received the sort of accolades in the field of pop music that Dusty did. However, I only mention this because if you're a fan of Dusty, do go and listen to some tracks by Chris Clark. Northern Soul fans will know exactly what I'm talking about, although many others will not. The song Do I Love You? Indeed I Do by Chris Clark is one of the all-time Northern Soul floor fillers, and it is an absolutely banging tune. It really is. And it's, to me, it's better than the Frank Wilson original. So do go and have a listen to that. I know I'm waffling on now, so I'll call it a day. But I just wanted to say, I really do hope you've enjoyed the content today. If you have, then please click the like button It does make a difference to us on the channel and enable us to push out more great content for you lovely people. So I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope to catch up with you very soon, and lovely to talk to you again. You take care. Bye for now.